Today I'm going to talk with you about slow thinking, and we're going to look a little bit at the difference between opinion and thought. So there are many kinds of slow thinking. I've enumerated some of them here. Rational thinking, and you saw Alain de Botton talking about Socratic dialogue in your readings for last week, which we'll go over a little bit here. Predictive thinking is about the future and causal, so what will happen if you do X, Y, or Z. Evaluative thinking, it's when you look at your opinions and question them, or when you prioritize or rank or assess. Immersive thinking involves deep mental involvement. Reflective thinking is checking your fast thinking or your opinions and thinking abstractly, as we've discussed in the previous weeks of this class. We also talked about interpretive thinking, defined by I.A. Richards as inference and guesswork. We talked about it in the context of how Susan Glaspell's women characters and Trifles figure out what happened, how Mr. Wright was killed, and why. Analytic thinking is breaking down ideas in order to understand them, and you can think about analytic thinking as unraveling. And synthetic thinking is the opposite. It's bringing ideas together, weaving them together into a whole. Analogical thinking involves using models. This is like that. Life is like climbing a mountain. Imaginative thinking is creative, and we're going to look at some forms of creative thinking, metaphorical thinking in particular, because it doesn't necessarily just come from creative inspiration. It can come from hard work too. Introspective thinking is when you examine your own mental and emotional processes, and reflective thinking is often introspective. Critical thinking is when you examine ideas from multiple perspectives, or when you examine underlying systems that might cause you to have ideas. And we did this in thinking about how fast thinking is generated, and we saw Toni Morrison thinking about the system of racism. Now, there are certain things that you really can't think about. And, the way you can tell is that there's something that, you just really can't discuss with others to change your mind about. So if you like chocolate ice cream and I like vanilla, we can't really think about that as a way to bring our ideas into concert with each other. Somebody says to you, I like vanilla ice cream, therefore you should like vanilla ice cream. Well, the assumption is true, I like vanilla ice cream, but the conclusion is not logical. It's illogical. There's no reason, logically speaking, that I should like anything that you like. This is a logical statement, and you can see that both assumptions are true, both the assumption and the logical conclusion. People feel differently about different flavors, that's true. Therefore, no one can tell someone else what flavor to like best. That is also true. Opinions, however, go beyond how you feel about certain flavors. So, for instance, you can have an opinion that isn't based on fact or knowledge, and in that case, new facts or more knowledge might change your opinion. You can discuss it with people or read things about it and change it. That involves thinking. Changing your opinions involves thinking. Or, it might involve the beliefs of a majority of people. And Alain de Botton, in Consolations of Philosophy, discussed that. He discussed how majority opinion or common sense isn't always right. He discussed it in particular in talking about the Socratic method for thinking. This is how you examine ideas that are common sense or believed by just about anybody. So the first thing you do is locate a statement The man he's talking with says that acting courageously involves not retreating in battle, and being virtuous requires money. We'll just focus on the second one. And then he says, search for counterexamples. Could a person ever have money and not be virtuous? Could a person ever have no money and be virtuous? And he says if you find exceptions, the definition is false or perhaps imprecise. So there are times when having money would involve having to be a crook. It's often the case in the ghetto, frankly. There's almost no way out of the ghetto except drug dealing. A lot of people have written about this. So drug dealers tend to be really hard workers. They get up early. They don't do drugs themselves. They're doing the most ambitious thing they can do given the situation that they're in. Then he says the initial statement has to be nuanced to take the exception into account. People who have money can be described as virtuous only if they have acquired it in a virtuous way. So if you say that people who have money can be described as virtuous only if they've acquired it in a virtuous way, then you can say, well, drug dealers are not virtuous. Also, if you find exceptions to these improved statements, you need to keep going. Keep finding exceptions until you can't find any more. And he says it's by finding out what something is not, the counterexamples, that one comes closest to understanding what it is. Botan's final conclusion is the product of thought is whatever Aristophanes insinuated, superior to the product of intuition. And remember, Aristophanes says that in Consolations of Philosophy, if you look on pages 16 and 17, he says that intellectuals are often really absurd, that they're so ridiculous. They are so far from common sense. And, I sometimes believe Aristophanes. There's all the stories about Albert Einstein forgetting his pants, for instance. But I think there is a counterexample to Alain de Botton's claim here. The product of thought is superior to the product of intuition. Not always. So, for example, what about, I think that's the only reason that Sheldon is funny on The Big Bang Theory, because sometimes that's just not true.
Begin the meeting by congratulating you on the progress in your relationship with Dr. Stephanie.
Thank you.
And that being said, we have to discuss the implementation of the agreed-upon cohabitation rider, which has been activated now that the two of you are living together.
We're not living together.
I beg to disagree. A girlfriend shall be deemed, quote, living with, unquote, Leonard, when she has stayed over for A, 10 consecutive nights, or B, more than 9 nights in a 3-week period, or C, all the weekends of a given month plus 3 weeknights.
That's absurd.
Yeah. You initialed it, see? LH, LH, LH.
Okay, no, wait, I only initialed it because I never thought it would happen. I initialed another clause naming you my sidekick in case I get superpowers.
Yes, you did. Now.
Yeah, she seems very nice.
Oh, she is. She's terrific. Yeah, and she's proving to be a valuable roommate.
Roommate? You guys are living together?
Like hippies.
We're not living together.
Do I have to pull out the paperwork again?
We're not living together.
Are you sure?
How could I not be sure?
Well, let's find out.
Now,
Don't you think if a woman was living with me, I'd be the first one to know about it?
Oh, sweetie, you'd be the last one to know about it.
Penny represents common sense in The Big Bang Theory. Right now, her
Cute
common
dresses.
sense is going to agree with Sheldon.
I bet this looks great on you.
We're not living together.
Okay. Scented candles, fuzzy slippers. Ooh, floral bed sheets.
We're not living together.
Okay, moving on. Who are these guys at Disney World?
The big dog is Goofy. And the older couple with the mouse ears, I have no idea. We're not living together.
You're gonna go down swinging, huh? All right, well, we got your body lotion, your In Style magazine, your jewelry box.
We're not. Where's my bat signal?
You have a bat signal?
I did. It was right here. She must have. Oh my God, we're living together.
Really? What was your first clue?
So Sheldon's roommate contract, it's logical, it's predictive, it's all good thinking. It's a good product of thought, but it's ridiculous, it's absurd. It is not superior to the product of intuition. In fact, as I pointed out while the video is playing, Penny represents intuition. She's not a nerd like they all are, and not obsessed with deep thinking. And she just goes through a common sense way of evaluating whether Leonard and Dr. Stephanie are living together. And her results are the same as Sheldon's. So they're not superior or inferior. In this case, they're equal. So Alain de Botton summarizes the Socratic method. Locate a common sense idea, search for counterexamples. Can the idea be refined so that it applies both to examples and counterexamples? Are there still exceptions? Is the idea true? It's kind of just thinking about, what do I think? Why do I think it? What do other people think about it? That means reading and talking with others. Do I agree or disagree with those other people? And what are the effects of thinking it? Another kind of thinking that I don't really consider thinking, or at least we're not going to do it in this class, if at all possible, is polemic. Polemic is an attack on someone, attacking them for their ideas. And frankly, when I have to write something, an article that analyzes things and does really intense thinking, it's so difficult and it's painstakingly slow. When I attack another literary critic, the article just writes itself. I can just do it quickly and it's fun and I'm sarcastic and funny and it's a lot, polemic is a lot easier than real thinking, I have to say. Debate isn't polemic. In debate, and some of you may have been on debate teams, you go over the pros and the cons. And you have to think about it and you have to find evidence. But polemic, and here's a Reddit example of polemic, you just attack the person. Social Security is effing stupid. It's not my responsibility to ensure that you have retirement money, this man says. And notice the responses. F you, I got mine, will be the end of this planet. That's polemic too. How will it be the end of the planet? What's your reasoning for this? I wanted to read from you a little bit of a vignette that opens this book by P.M. Forney called The Thinking Life: How to Thrive in the Age of Distraction. And the vignette is spoken by a visitor to Earth from another galaxy. And this is a trick philosophers use very often. They imagine what an outsider would think about our culture. And he says, this visitor says, I've found that humans have the ability to silently converse within their own selves. This internal conversation, which they call thinking, allows them to take stock of the world around them and to plan their most suitable ways of dealing with it. And he goes on, happiness is the most coveted good, and it's really a byproduct of thinking, he says. It's virtually impossible to build a good life, to build happiness, without the foundation of good thinking. He says, any intergalactic visitor would be as struck as I am by their overindulging in thought avoidance. The people have the capacity to think, but they don't do it. Instead, they pursue mindless entertainment and the exchange of unnecessary information. And he says, you'd think, this Martian or alien says, you'd think, since good thinking is necessary for good decisions and becoming happy, that people would prioritize training their children in good thinking. Does such training occupy a prominent position in the school's curricula? It does not. And so good thinking fails to become second nature. He says, instead of thinking, people relentlessly pursue the trivial, and that the avoidance of serious thinking involves them in the unwitting sabotage of their own lives. Now, I don't much like this book because I think it's a little bit disdainful of people, but it does get at this issue that we do avoid thinking, and that's what I want to focus on understanding this week. Ursula Le Guin has a collection of essays called No Time to Spare. The subtitle is Thinking About What Matters, and the first essay is In Your Spare Time. Now, what she kind of gets at in this essay is that, what do you mean by spare? What spare it from what? Spared from essential things that you have to do? What's essential? But the amazing thing about this collection of essays is they're all about cats. She's thinking about cats, her cats. And so one of the things that I wanted to say is when you do assignment 4.1, which is about thinking avoidance, you can use analogies like Ursula Le Guin and her cats. Make sure that you really try to think about the question I've proposed for a full 20 minutes. Time it. And what you're going to be paying attention to is all the moments where you don't want to do it anymore, when you want to do something else. Now, while you're trying to do this thinking, you don't have to sit still. You can go for a walk or a run, but every time your mind wanders away from the question, notice why and gently bring it back. You may want to explore some mindfulness techniques to work on this problem. And I just wanted to point out that there's a Buddhist practice, I don't quite know how to pronounce it, Maranasati perhaps, and here's a link to it in Wikipedia, which is about contemplating dead bodies. But it's really a way to think about this question that I'm asking you to think about. You don't have to do that. I just wanted you to know that that's a technique for thinking.